There it is, friends. Naive. I didn't buy this. Okay, just although if I had to, I would. Don't get me wrong. You know, we need a drink. We need to stay all hydrated. Um, and that's what these thieves work off is this, you know, this idea that, well, it's not this fact that we have to drink. I used to be a proponent of the bottled water, minimum 2 liters a day, and all that. And then I discovered that the compounds that are in the water are inorganic. Okay. Now we're told that these inorganic minerals and compounds are in our best interests, and people sensibly buy this stuff rather than drink tap water because the tap water's got other ingredients in it like chlorine and in some places fluoride. Now, if you don't know that fluoride and chlorine are very bad for you, then you've got a lot of work still to do on the research. Anyway, hopefully this helps you along that way. The inorganic materials that are in the water, um, typically there's about 300 parts per million in the Evian, and about 280, 250 parts per million in my tap water. These, as I've said for 3 or 4 times now, these are inorganic, okay? Um, so you might recognize names like magnesium, words like magnesium and phosphorus and all these sorts of things, and we absolutely need these things in our body. But we don't need them inorganic. Our body has to have them in an organic form. So if you put nitrates and magnesium and all that sort of stuff into soil and your plants convert that to an organic form of the same, hey, you're well away. The problem with this inorganic stuff is it's like, I describe it as like miniature rubble. It's just building dirt, really. It's just crap. And a lot of it's so small. It's so small. It's come through all the filters and so on, and it's the bit that's left, and the stuff is so small that it gathers in the body. The body struggles to pass it through. So before your body can use the water, it has to clean it. So it sends it off to the liver for cleansing, and all of that stuff is removed and has to be packaged and stored somewhere. Some of it, arguably, is going to pass out tomorrow morning when you sit down on the toilet. But definitely some of it is getting caught in the gills of your body. And typically this tends to cause brain stem blockages and injuries, and it's associated with Alzheimer's conditions and motor neuron disease and a bunch of others. Also, it causes arthritis because I've heard people describe it as their joints becoming like cement, because this building rubble over many years starts to pack itself around the soft tissues in the joints and eventually calcifies and becomes, you know, like you see on your tap, you know, a hard crust of white stone. So the advice that I give anybody who's paying attention is to distill the water, clean it. You know, you could put it through one of those Brita water filters or some other fridge water filter or whatever, but in my experience that tends to clean about 20-25% at best of that shit back out of the water. So you really have to use a process of reverse osmosis, or my preference is simpler, is to distill it. I have a countertop distiller. It does about 4 liters or 1 gallon at a time. It takes about 3 hours to boil it, steam it, and extract the steam off into a cooling ring, and then dispense it into a glass jar for cooling. And once it's gone through a proper cooling cycle, it tastes fantastic. It's absolutely clean, pure, like rainwater or fruit. The water in fruit is pure or distilled. And the advantage of distilled water, aside from not leaving behind building rubble in your body, is that it starts to draw that building rubble or break that building rubble back down. Because it has a negative ionic charge, it's actually a hungry water. Firstly, your body can use it straight away because it's pure, it doesn't need to be clean. And then it has a, let's say, a magnetic charge. And that magnetic charge means that it's really eager to soak up any minerals, anything that it can get a hold of. And that's why it's recommended not to use a plastic bottle for your distilled water, because it leaches, apparently, it leaches plastic into the water 100 times faster than regular bottled water. So I could go on about what distilled means and so on. I might do another video, but I don't like to make these too long. Your time is precious. But go and do some research on this. If this is news to you, go and do some research. Tap water, bottled water, it's full of chemicals, it's full of inorganics, and the distilled water will help clear that out. Now, I have only been distilling water for a year and a half, and I stopped wearing my glasses. I'd been 5 years into a sort of gradually aging eyes, and I'm now, well, I do use my glasses occasionally if I'm tired or I'm doing a lot of screen reading on this tiny phone. I might use the glasses, but I seldom use them now, whereas I'd become almost reliant, completely reliant on them to read anything on the phone screen. So, and this is exactly what they say, is that, the macular degeneration that we see is often a consequence of the dirt, the microscopic rubble gathering underneath the cornea of the eye. So it really appealed to me when I heard that I could mitigate or minimize future conditions of arthritis. The box that my distiller came in said scientifically proven to help against Alzheimer's. Now, they're not allowed to use words like cure or anything like that, but I wouldn't want to take a risk with a brain disease. I mean, my mother died of a similar kind of condition, motor neuron disease, and I think there's heavy metals, there's toxic heavy metals in our environment, perhaps in our water, certainly in injections and things like that, vaccinations. So, it's worth looking into how you can draw this heavy metal back out of your body, and certainly looking into how you might distill your own water or catch rainwater. Heck, I've measured my rainwater. I've got a probe. I can measure the particulate content in it, and it's almost perfectly, it is pure. It's pure water. The rainwater is the best water. Don't believe the acid rain and all that crap. You look at a spring morning, or look at any morning, choose any morning, unless there's a local forest fire going on or something. Choose any morning. You wake up, you go outside, and the sky, the air is crisp and pure and perfect, despite decades and decades of us apparently polluting this thin atmosphere that we live under. If the Beijing or the China kind of pollution, just take China, just their pollution was circulating inside of this tiny little capsule that we're meant to be living in, then the air that I breathe in the morning, first thing in the morning, would be sorely compromised by that. And I think the same is true with the water. The rain that falls on us is clean. Don't buy into the bullshit. The only time it's going to get dirty is if you collect it into a plastic container that that leaches into the water, or obviously it stands for a while and starts to go off. But you can enliven water and so on. There's more on the water thing. I could go on and on, but I'll call it short there. And I think hopefully this is enough for you to kind of consider looking again. I'm 50 years old, by the way, so I really think I credit it with helping me with my eyesight, maybe my brain acuity. Maybe I'm sharper in the brain. I guess that's a bit subjective, but my family think I'm nuts. But whatever. Yeah, that's it. Distilled water. Don't be naive. Spell it backwards. What do you get? Naive. Bye for now.